Back in the land of
Ooh,
fiat. Well,
you. It's a fiat world, baby.
it's a
What's up,
fiat
Johnny?
world.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Johnny. Back again. Good to see you. I went from, well, we were in the deserts of fiat. I ended up in another week in the delta of
Swamps.
fiat,
The swamp of
the
fiat.
Mississippi swamp delta of fiat. New Orleans, I've been there last week. And part of me is like, now that was for more of my fiat job, work, conference, training, immersive time that is quasi obligatory and quasi beneficial, but also not. But
Yeah.
it, good for me to go, but it reminds me why I avoid those kinds of things because we were talking about it offline, but like my peers or my boss and other people be like, oh yeah, the networking, the bigger organizations, the international national association of all the people. And I go to these things. I mean, I hope my boss isn't listening. I apologize, but maybe it's my age, maybe it's my tenure in the career. I sit through these things and I'm either I'm either too in the trenches of the work, like I want to do the tangible stuff, and there's also just it's just saturated with theory and concept and science, and also not.
Right.
It's sort of like sciency sounding, but also like um, the value I get out of it is just pretty tepid, or it's stuff that it's like, don't we all know this? Like, is
Right.
there something new here? Is there something to apply? Is there something like, oh, this is interesting? It's more like, no, we all know this. We're just hearing ourselves talk about it.
Yeah.
And I get really impatient because I got shit to do.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
anyway, so I get so impatient with it. Anyway, so I thought, okay, well, it'll be transitioning back into fiat work, but I still have some time and I can think and kind of like get some perspective. Well, if you haven't been to New Orleans, it is a different angle slice of fiat. Talk about party, drugs, and alcohol people.
Yeah.
It is weird, man. I mean, it was fun, but also just like I could only handle like a mile of Bourbon Street.
Right.
And then I'm like, okay,
It's
I
like
got to get
boobs
out of
to
here.
weeds, dude. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, New Orleans in general is just, I don't know, it's like one of the homicide capitals of the world, maybe. Or at least it used to be really bad. I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of a weird town. It's like a lot of American cities, but
There was some
but it's
National Guard out. Um, I didn't see any crime really. I mean, there was odd people and busyness, but cops on horses, that was cool. Cops around generally.
yeah.
You like New York City, I figure. There was National Guard people, just nothing to do, but just kind of walking around and for reasons. But
Yeah, well, I mean, if you get back in the neighborhoods, like it's a whole different world, I mean, it's ghetto, but around Bourbon Street, tourist areas, they always beef up stuff like that, which kind of speaks to the thing you were talking about before is like all these people talking like how do you fix crime and disorder? Like they've known how to do that for 50 years. How do you fix prison, incarceration, rehabilitation, drug rehab? Like they know how to fix that for 40 years, right? It's just neither one is politically palatable in the United States, so they just leave it the way it is, right? Just like constant crap, like it never gets better, it never gets worse. It's always just like, nah, just kind of like a rough baseline of kind of general suck. But that's all you can get done politically in the United States of America. Like I used to talk in those groups, and talk to people about addiction and this and that and the other thing. And there are things like heroin assisted therapy that like they literally give chronic addicts heroin every single day. Not methadone, not, Suboxone. They just go, here you go, here's your dose of heroin. And it's medically supervised and the guy ODs, there's a doctor right there that just brings him back. And so it's like it's really safe. The needles are clean, the drugs are pure. And what happens with these people is they end up being kind of like chronic alcoholics. Like probably half a dozen people in your office that you work with every single day are chronic alcoholics, right? Like they are just every single day they go home, they pound a bunch of beers or pound a bunch of wine or pound a bunch of alcohol. And they wake up and they feel shitty and they go to work and they do their job and they pay their bills and they raise their families and then they get drunk again. And then, they rinse and repeat 7 days a week, 365 days a year until they die of whatever. Right. But what the point is they're very manageable, very functional human beings, aside from the fact they've got a chronic addiction. And they do the same thing with the heroin addicts. And what they find is like all these criddlers that are living on the street and doing all this, criddling stuff and stealing your bicycle and your shovels and whatnot, suddenly just become productive members of society that just happen to do heroin every day. And you go, huh, does that sound better or worse? But try and propose that in the United States, anywhere. What, are you just going to give drug addicts drugs? I mean, people just lose their shit, right? So you kind of go, well, you've got a viable solution that costs literally pennies per day to fix 90% of the chronic addiction problems, especially opioid addicted people, fentanyl addicts, all that kind of stuff. If you're giving them a nice, healthy shot of heroin every day, they tend to do pretty good. And they can sustain that for a long, 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 long time, like 30, 40 years kind of thing. And most of those people, as they age out and as they continue getting therapy and as they continue start to work through their like traumas and whatever things that are driving them to addiction to begin with, a healthy portion of them end up getting off the heroin eventually anyway. So right there you go. How do you solve the drug crisis in America? Well, just give people some drugs and and people just like they'll absolutely go batshit crazy if you suggest something like that. So they would prefer that these people criddle on the streets and are walking around like zombies and doing the little like fentanyl fucking dance in a parking lot somewhere. So everyone's kids and everyone has to suffer for it. So someone can hang on to their ideology about punishing people, right? Or not encouraging bad behavior and all this kind of shit. So you get to places like Portland and Seattle, and they go, well, let's just try and do some of that. We'll do a half measure. And you go, there's no half measure. It's either you do the thing or you don't. But doing it in the middle just makes everything worse. So, but that kind of stuff just drives me crazy in the fiat world, dude. It's just like, oh, we got all of these solutions. Can we do it? No. All right, then why are we here? Like
there's statistical stuff about harm reduction as far as like reducing harm to the community and to on par people. So there's harm reduction. And then also addiction is so, for those unfamiliar, it's like so unfathomably hard to fix. And I think aspects of brain science, it's like it's not fixable in some ways. I mean, there are rehabilitative things and cognitively you can repair things about it, but there are triggers down burned into brains that got fried that are there. Yeah. And so the science of addiction is really, 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 really hard. So it's like, you can't say, well, if they hit a rock bottom or if they would just stop or like, don't they get it or quit, quit. Obviously this is so horrible, quit.
Right.
And you can't, they won't quit. Now you can do harm reduction around that, but committing to a fix, they're kind of extreme. It's like on one end, it's like, well, almost like anti-humanitarian, like no tolerance, get rid of it, lock it away, put it away, wash your hands of it. Don't have to deal with it. Yeah. Or you try to rehabilitate and realize that's like a lifelong crutch but anyway, what I saw largely in Bourbon, I mean, even like the next morning I got up early I wanted to go on foot and look around and tour and get out to some water and stuff. It had rained that night, and just in the morning, the smell of that city. I smelled it that night, obviously. I mean, right. And literally, compared to New York City, be like, oh, there's a little sewer. In New Orleans, it's like there's vomit, there's urine, there's I don't even know what, there's alcohol, decades worth of dried out alcohol.
Yeah.
And then who knows what else. And then, okay, there's people in around. But when I got up early in the morning and the rain was drying off and it was almost like this would be fresh, misty air, like a fresh day, I could hardly breathe. It was like, oh my God, I got sick. It was so gross. I had to get out of that town. So even on top of all that layers and layers and layers of party, the state of, I was just trying to zoom out. I was telling you, I felt like a freaking alien. Like I can appreciate fun and party. I'm not some prude Puritan weirdo. Like I get it. Great music, interesting people, having fun, cutting loose, being weird, being different, being crazy. I can appreciate that. But then I thought, imagine living here and like, this is what the scene is every day or whatever.
Right.
You go there for more than a night or two of that, and you like it, and you go back for more. Beyond all that, I zoomed all out and be like, wow, I am a weirdo. Like as a Bitcoiner, I don't relate to stuff or the world at large. I don't relate to more and more and more and more. Also, just at face value, let's forget all the other stuff. This general state of health of people, if you knew nothing else about them and they weren't acting in any particular way and they're just walking down the street or you just listen to them talking or whatever, I was struggling to find people that seemed like healthy. And I would say, even compared to Vegas, the state of health of people, I just looking around superficially, just like body physique or behavior or talk or whatever, sure. But it was hard to ignore the state of ill health. Like there were people just, I literally thought like, you can't live long like that. I mean,
Kind of doesn't matter though. I mean, truly, like if you really start stripping it away, like if you take Dunning-Kruger as a serious, study, you go probably 60-70% of the people on planet Earth are not meaningfully contributing to anything, right? And they think they are. So they are like overestimate their abilities. They think they're the most important thing since sliced bread. And meanwhile, they're obese and they're a drain on medical care and they're a drain on this and they're just a drain everywhere, right? And what they produce is email and meetings. And you kind of go, okay, so what makes you so valuable to the. So the only reason they become valuable, like from a 20,000 foot view, is like, well, they power a lot of industries collectively.
I had to look this up. Sorry, Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah. So they collectively power a lot of industries like healthcare, which is a major employer in the United States, pharmaceutical companies, major employer in the United States, fast food companies, major employer in the United States, food processing companies, major employer in the United States, grocery stores, soda pop manufacturers, beer distributors, blah, 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 blah. I mean, there's like a ton of jobs tied to big, fat, unhealthy, obese people that are otherwise useless. So you go, huh, well, I mean, if one of them kind of keels over because they're getting drunk on Bourbon Street, you kind of go, it doesn't really affect anything. Like, I mean, locally, their family's going to be sad, and little Susie or little Timmy is going to be like, "Oh, Dad's dead,"
There's
But
relationships involved, sure, yeah.
yeah, but outside of that little, like, they're going to forget him in about a month or two. Like, everyone's going to forget him in a month or two. Like, they'll go, "Oh yeah, you remember when Dad died?" No, and then they'll move on, right? But that's like literally everybody. I mean, if you think about like how many meaningful people there are on planet Earth, you kind of go, oh, well, I'm not one of those people at all. Like if Donald Trump dies tomorrow, shit's going to happen. And we'll still forget about him a month from now. You see what I'm saying? Like Charlie Kirk got smoked, and best I can tell, no one even remembers the guy existed.
It's changed. Charlie Kirk has driven a wedge into right-wing politics. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but not to go on a rabbit hole, but there is a divide in MAGA right now over what in the hell is going on with the powers that be and who's really in charge and what side of right are you on? Because it's sort of like, are you Candace Owens' conspiracy side, or are you more, nope, red-blooded MAGA Trump and Israel? But anyway, so not to distract, but yeah, Charlie Kirk had a thing going on, and with him gone, there's a lot of weird, crazy infighting on the right. Yeah. And anyway, yeah, so I was totally thinking of fiat. I was kind of, I've been grappling with the transition from Vegas where, okay, and also you mentioned Trank. I've seen that where people are literally just weirdly catatonically
yeah, the really fun part about Trank is that it actually rots your tissues from the inside. So
yeah, people's skin just starts, and it like Ebola or something. So
yeah.
Anyway,
so it's actually kind of an ideal drug.
Gets right to it.
Yeah.
So coming out of Vegas, it was like, okay, I was able to juxtapose overt fiat with Bitcoin world and Bitcoin thinking and Bitcoin incentives, and like having a comparison there that was like, okay, I feel sort of strengthened in my perceptions about things. I didn't have enough time to, I don't know what, settle back and detox back at home before I was in New Orleans.
Ugh.
And so New Orleans just sort of thrust it in my face in a different way that was honestly less healthy, maybe because the money was different, the wealth or slice of people or why they're there was different. And I felt extra alien. And then coming back, I'm just like, we've talked about how like fiat is so much of our world that it's invisible and there's sort of like no real escape. Or or even when you find that escape, your mind drifts back into fiat thinking or the fiat world and you live in that.
Yeah.
Going back to New Orleans again, I just saw it so much. I was thinking like I don't think there's no healing that. There's no like steering that around. Um it's like a dead end.
Well,
I don't
it's,
know.
it's like, I mean, it's how you live, right? So like when people start talking about escape or whatever, I kind of anymore, I mean, I see so much complexity and so many layers of complexity in society in general. I just kind of go, I don't, I don't think you get to skip this, Like if you go join a hunter gatherer tribe, like if you just walk down to the Hazda and say, hey, can I hang out with you guys forever? Um, you'll adapt to that lifestyle real fast, and you'll probably miss a lot of fiat comforts, right? Like that's kind of the thing. But in terms of like having a healthy lifestyle, if you could actually adapt your body to that, because you got to like completely redo like your gut microbiome to sort of deal with that kind of, like you're eating like raw meat out of the hole, like you stab a thing and you cut it open, you start drinking the blood right there. And like all the bacteria and bugs and everything that are around in that meal are very much becoming part of your system. And if you grew up in a fiat world with a sterile system, like your body does not adapt quickly to that kind of thing. It will, over 5 or 10 years or something like that. But that's the only real true escape is like you go, okay, well, I gather from the earth with my tribe of people. That is how we live. And once in a while, some missionary will come through and give me an orange soda and make a video for YouTube, right? But other than that, it's kind of like you're just out there with your little like homemade bow and just like sticking stuff and digging badgers out of holes. And, I mean, but is in terms of health, like extraordinarily healthy way to live. But it's also very difficult for most, like my hands are like veal, you know what I'm saying? Like my feet are like veal. Like me running around in the desert with like a pair of flip-flops or something, like I'm gonna be getting stung by bugs, I'm gonna be getting blisters, I'm gonna be getting heat stroke, I'm just gonna be a wreck, dude. But I mean that you go, and I'm relatively fit guy for my age. So when you start thinking about like some of these people who are really, really sick, you go, what do you do without feel like you just
Oh
die?
God.
They don't exist, period.
That was
Like
my
you just
thought is
stop
that
existing.
when I think of hunter gatherer stuff, it's life on the edge in a way where it's like if you get one particularly bad cut that got infected or you didn't know what to do, you don't have all this infrastructure, say, to do just the right things with science that, like, oh, yeah, we'll just fix that. So
Yeah.
it's sort of on one hand, like you want to take care of your day to day details of life, like you're doing that carefully, or stakes can be high on the edges. At the same time, walking down Bourbon Street or looking at people, I'm like, talk about life on the edge because they require a huge infrastructure of something to keep functioning,
Mhm.
or they are dead. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, that's
Um,
most of us, dude. I mean, like, you can look at the outliers and go, "Oh, there's a fat guy, there's a guy with diabetes, there's a guy with this, there's a guy with that." And you go, "Okay, well, I mean, those aren't even outliers anymore. That's the majority nowadays." But but even amongst the fit, highly athletic, hey, nice, dude. Banana leaf shoes. Um
weave your own.
the thing is like almost everyone that's grown up in a fiat environment is going to struggle if they had to return to like a primal way of life. There's a handful that can adapt over time, especially people that start young or very fit to begin with and have all the right genetics. But there's just a lot of barriers to that. But on the flip side of that, you kind of go, well, there's a lot of like really brilliant thinkers, like like Stephen Hawking, right? Like if he was a hunter gatherer, he would have been useless, you know. And the second he got diagnosed with ALS, he probably wouldn't have got diagnosed with ALS because he would have been in the sunshine all the time and outdoors and probably wouldn't have picked up that horrible disease. But even if he did, like what benefit does Stephen Hawking bring to the hunter-gatherer troop? Like almost nothing. But to humanity, he brought like a wealth of knowledge, right? And a wealth of like interesting thinking. So you kind of go, well, fiat may make us more unhealthy as a general rule, but it also opens up a lot of possibilities for people that probably would have died, like the first time they got appendicitis or the first time they got an infection or an infected tooth or a broken leg or like those are all fatalities in some settings. And those are sort of like routine, like, oh well, yeah, it's gonna suck for a couple weeks, take these pills, you know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah, I felt it was crazy making in a way. It was I went through stages of like, I know it's coming. I'm just here for it to be entertained. And then after a while, I was like, man, this is surreal. This is over the top. Um, it's sort of like I'm just sort of stepping back and taking it all in for something slightly morbid. And then I just got really disgusted by stuff and was just like, or it's just too much of it. And I was,
yeah,
and then I start getting really judgmental. And I'm trying not to be like judgmental because I catch myself doing that all the time. And I'm trying to balance like, yes, I know what it is, but I'm not going to stew on it or be like, oh, them, oh, this, oh, that, oh. And then my whole life is like, oh, fiat. So I'm
right.
trying to like have an arm's length perspective on it. And yet it was so deep and odd that
Mm.
I got into a kind of a negative, well, notwithstanding the fact that, I got sick and stuff. I went to a
Yeah.
nice restaurant, great food, tasted great, well done, very nice shrimp creole noodle thing, tasted great. And I got so sick. Anyway, so I was recovering from being sick, hit the street back again after a day of recovery. And again, I'm seeing it all and I'm just like, I can't unsee some of this stuff, but I don't want it to infect me or get really, I was feeling really negative.
Yeah.
Like just seeing a train that has wrecked, but it's a tourist attraction. And I'm like, ooh, man.
Yeah.
Or am I an alien? Yeah, I don't know.
Fourth turning
Um,
place. I don't know if we're in a fourth turning. I think we're in the
it
first
feels like
turning.
fourth turning to me, but then
I
again, it
think the
always
fourth
has.
turning already happened, dude. Like, I think COVID was the pinnacle of the fourth turning. Like, like people talk about like, some coming collapse or disaster or whatever. I'm like, how much worse do you want it to get than COVID, right? Like, there were people dying all over the place. The entire economy was shut down. They printed their way through the whole mess. They completely suspended like all human rights across the globe all at once. I mean, they fractured private property rights, they fractured rights to assemble. I mean, they just shattered the whole playbook. And then it kind of didn't, then they just gave up. I don't know. I mean, it's like, so if you're talking about like what other draconian, crazy government overreach sort of catastrophizing sort of idea can you come up with? I go, the next worst outcome from that is like everybody dies. Like I don't know what else, what event are you looking for that's going to be like, aha, this is the thing I've been waiting for. Like I go, that was it. That event happened, it passed, and nothing really happened. Like, I mean, people are kind of struggling a little bit more. Groceries are more expensive, and that's it, right? Like, and people have a legacy of like, oh, now we just don't trust anything ever again, because we heard you last time and you guys are all full of crap, So
At one level, I feel like a lot of people learned, like when I talk to Bitcoiners, a lot of people learned a lot from COVID, like never again, or, oh, well, I wanted to get along, but now I know where my principles stand. A lot of people, no, I think it was just a thing that happened and there's no real perspective about it.
well, I think even the people that say they learned something from it, I go, well, you could have learned from all the similar events for the past 400 years, but you didn't rely on any of that information when COVID hit, right? Like, so I don't think people really learn anything. I don't think people have any deep takeaways from anything. I think people like to think that they are doing that kind of stuff, but the reality is they're going to show up, they're going to go to work, they're going to do all the fiat things they have to do to keep existing because that's what existence is predicated on. You go out and do fiat things, period. Like if you don't go do fiat things, then you're not going to exist for very long, or it's going to be a struggle. or you're going to be homeless. And even if you're homeless, you're part of the fiat system. Like
Right.
you're just like a parasite on the fiat system rather than a contributor to the fiat system. And even then you become a valuable resource for employment. Like people like you have a job because of those people. And
Yeah.
people like the insurance companies and all the social workers, they have a job because of those people. So you kind of go, well, this is, in a way, it's a circular economy of just like, well, we just kind of promote crap, buy more crap, eat more crap, suffer more crap, get sick from more crap. So even the people that are giving healthcare are also themselves sick. And, so we're all just sort of like creating this service economy, but that service economy is just, it's all vapor, dude. Like there's no productivity occurring here. I mean, there are, like people that make planes and whatnot, but most of that stuff's overseas nowadays. So, there's very
Yeah.
few things left that are actual like meaningful contributions to the world.
I know, and I don't disagree, and then it'll affect me, and I'll think or I'll get in a really negative mind space about it. This existential just kinda like or like reading your book and stuff, and I'm like, this is the human system that there's no solution about. And now
Right.
Bitcoin opens things up, and awareness and knowledge and personal agency open up doors, but those are all individual decisions to make. The system is so entangled, it gets really hard. So I'm like, okay, I was feeling really just negative in my head about all of it and feeling like I'd like to be home yesterday now, but I got to be here for another couple of days. And I'm just kind of feeling like, oh God. So now that I'm home and thinking about it, it's like, okay, well, what I came away from was like, sort of like, as a human, I can only do me or my family. I need some like tangible things that I can do to start somewhere. And maybe it's my age. Exactly. Bitcoiners are it's like you can now see these separate worlds and you're living in one at least or both, but you can see both of them and you're trying to navigate like something better. Or how do you get out of the old one and how do you really enter a new one? Or can you? Can you really go into the new one? So in grappling with that, it's like, okay, on Monday I got to go to work and face, face the craziness and do all the work and get paid for it. Do I have an escape from that? Like theoretically, but not as much. Okay, so what is it can I do? I was like, maybe it's my age. I thought I don't think I can handle and I didn't drink on this trip after Vegas. I didn't drink. And I thought, okay, I just don't think I can handle like alcohol or certain bad food. Like, oh, I'm hungry, I'll grab something quick. Oh, I noticed how that made me feel. Like I just need to be more deliberate about little personal decisions in my life, and maybe that's all I can do. I don't know.
Well, I mean, in terms of an escape, like the thing that's really funny to me is we are the apex financial system on planet Earth right now. The United States dollar drives the world economy, period. Full stop. There's no alternative. There's no like, oh, alternate settlement mechanism. Like everybody's moving stuff through Swift. Everybody's relying on US treasuries. I don't care if they're buying more gold. I don't care about any of the details sort of across the globe. Writ large, the entire global economy runs on the US dollar, and we benefit enormously. Like we are first order beneficiaries of the US dollar system. And we're also the most vocal complainers about how bad things are, right? And you kind of go, really? Like, I don't think you know what bad looks like, like go to Venezuela, that looks pretty bad. Go to Lebanon, that looks pretty bad. And even if you go there, those people are typically kind of getting by. I mean, it's not great, it's not easy, but they figure out ways. So, as the beneficiaries, as the direct first order beneficiaries of the US dollar system, we get finicky about like how some people have a lot and we don't have very much, and they keep taking more and more. And I'm like, well, but a lot of that's voluntary, right? Like a lot of people are voluntarily giving up all of their wealth so they can keep up the Joneses, so they can buy a mortgaged house, so they can follow all the little fiat rules. I go, well, if you separate yourself from all of the fiat shenanigans, like if you don't buy expensive groceries and if you don't go and get a new thing from Amazon every week or every day, or what I mean, like you go across this country and there are middle class households that just have piles of Amazon boxes showing up every single day, and it's all tchotchke junk. And you go like, why don't you just stop buying that crap, right? Why don't you stop signing up for all the little classes and all the little BS, and stop signing up for all the books and the exercise routines? And why don't you just like eat healthy, cheap food and maybe grow a garden, and you can separate yourself from 90% of the fiat shenanigans, but you get all the benefits of the fiat world. Like, you still can have a cell phone, you can still use the internet, you can still buy a computer, you can still buy a car, you can still do all that kind of stuff, but your expenses plunge dramatically. And that's as true in life as it is in business. Like, you want a successful business, it's the one that controls costs, not the one that makes the most profit, right? Because if you never learn how to control costs, profit is going to be a variable. But cost, as long as you can keep cost under revenue, then life is great in all aspects of life. What most people do is they max out their revenue to their costs, and most exceed it, which is why we're all in debt, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's your escape, is like, stop participating in all the fiat nonsense. But when you say that to someone, like, oh, I hardly buy anything, but you go, well, let me see your credit card bill. And you go, well, like, no one wants to show the credit card bill, because then it reveals the fiction that is in their head. They think, oh, I'm not really participating in this. But if you just look at your credit card receipt, you go, well, what was this? What was this charge? What was this charge? It's all junk. It's all wasting time and effort and money. Like, oh, we went out to eat. Oh, I bought a new tricycle for my kid, even though I could have just fixed the old one, and whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's your escape. Stop participating.
And it gets complicated with a wife or kids and grandparents. My wife and I were having this conversation yesterday about, like, the kids do not need any more crap. They just, like, we've run the credit card up on crap in terms of fiat balance,
right,
and not money, just stuff. So it's like, we do not need any more stuff. And then events are coming up, or there's a birthday coming up, and grandma wants to get more stuff. And we're politely navigating, like, let's not do things about stuff or have a big fiat. Like, let's focus on time preference. Let's focus on minimalism and practicality. And even for the kids, we're training the kids, like, I want more stuff. Oh, I didn't get stuff. I want stuff.
right.
And it's so hard to back that up or slow it down when grandma's like, well, I'm going to get them some shit. And you're like, okay. But, oh, Simon Dixon. I was just, he had a great one yesterday too, but he's, anyway.
He's a wackadoodle.
I kind of like him. He's cathartic for me. Like,
he's an early Bitcoiner with too much time on his hands.
I like him. I mean, I can put it on a shelf of, like, well, maybe, but he also, when in a world of chaos, you got all these dots to connect in. How does this make sense? That's where, ideas that are out there come. But there's things that he says that are like, oh, okay, interesting. A meta view on the strategery of things. But
it's all nonsense, dude. Like, he assigns so much. Like, I like the guy. Like, I've talked with him in spaces and stuff like that, and I think he's a thoughtful guy. I just think he's drinking his own Kool-Aid a little bit too much. Like, when you start talking about, like, these deep conspiracies about, here's the real reason why we're doing this, and I was like, you don't know any of this shit, dude. It's just like naked speculation is all it boils down to. And it's easy to draw lines between, fractured evidence, right? Like, you can just take this, like, little sliver of information and go, okay, well, I'm going to tie this little sliver to this little sliver and say, aha, see? The grand conspiracy. You're like, well, what about the 4,000 other possible drivers of that configuration you're talking about? Well, we're not going to talk about any of those because that's not interesting, right? Like, nothing is interesting about, well, it's complicated, right? There's all kinds of interesting in, this is a conspiracy by this group to do world domination. Like, that's like a compelling narrative always, and it always has been, right? But just like Nostradamus has been influential for a few thousand years or a few hundred years or whatever it was, just because he's making, like, these kind of opaque predictions that people assign some sort of merit or value to. It's just like, yeah, but at the end of the day, it's just far more dense than you can say, well, this cabal of evildoers in some secret lair somewhere silently pulling the strings on the world. They're just, it's all nonsense,
I think what Simon's, and I know people do traipse into making pictures out of clouds. Also, when I think about whether it's governments, people in leadership, intelligence agencies, or whatever, they are doing their damnedest to come up with coherent strategy
Right.
versus adversaries and alliances and everything in between. And so they're all doing their damnedest to conspire. And so then it's just a matter of understanding what are their incentives, what are their goals. Certainly they have them. It's just they're all a cult. So the rest of us are trying to decipher the incentives behind the scenes. Like I know they're there. I know that Israel has its ideas. Iran or Russia or China and America, they all have their like multifaceted incentives and goals. So then when you look at what is going on in the world, or what do they try and fail at, what do they try and succeed at, or keep doing and repeatedly doing, where does it make sense? What are the goals? And you can get glimmers of them, and then you think, oh, there's something there. It's not just like, well, can't know stuff, there's for me, it's in between. Like I can't fully know it. At the same time, I know there's agendas. So,
Well, I mean, like, but that presupposes a whole ton of things, right? And like you just talked about politicians and intelligence agencies and whatever judges and all this kind of stuff. Like I've seen people literally like assigning values to like a judge's decision. And they paint that in a way that people get all riled up. Oh, this liberal judge, this, that, and the other thing. Never mind, it was like a Trump appointee, or that they came in under the Reagan administration, or like it's just shit people say, but it doesn't necessarily line up to anything. Like to say, like a lot of that is anthropomorphizing agencies, right? Like if I came along and said, oh, the parole and probation department in XYZ county, they're all about this liberal, left-wing justice, social justice warrior, blah, blah, blah. They never arrest people because they're all infected with communism. And you go, well, is that true of your agency? You go, well, no. I mean, it's more complicated. I mean, yeah, there are some people like you would have to waffle immediately. Like you wouldn't be able to go, yep, absolutely. You're absolutely right. This place is overrun with blue-haired fucking lunatics. But somebody somewhere could paint that picture, right?
Yeah.
And if you wanted to be corrective about it, you go, well, it's different than that, right? Like it's just, you have to understand there's like these enormous layers of complexity going on. There's all kinds of people pulling in all kinds of different directions. Nobody is on the same page about anything. Everyone's just trying to get by and get through the day without committing a felony or letting some dangerous person out or letting this happen or this. And we have to abide by all these rules and these regulations, and we got HR, we got all these people fighting in the office, and it's like it's just constant chaos. And somehow at the end of the day, you're getting an outcome and a result that you can put on a report somewhere and send to somebody, and they go, yeah, good job. So I go, that's just one ding dong agency in one ding dong county in one ding dong corner of the country. You go, what do you think that looks like in Washington, D.C. at the NSA? Like if you had 4,000 officers under your command, you go, do you think all that gets easier? Like all these people are suddenly like, we're all here, we're marching in the same direction, we're all doing like, no way, dude. Like it gets
according to leadership, they would say so, like they have a mission statement, a vision statement. Now, of course, a lot of that's whitewashy ideas, but yeah, I know.
Well, but that's what I'm getting at. So like if you talk about an intelligent like CIA, right? There's somewhere 5,000-10,000 employees in the CIA under that umbrella. And then you talk about the NSA is probably 2,500 to 3,000 employees. And then you talk about the FBI, that's another 10,000-15,000. And then, the Department of Homeland Security and ICE and all these different agencies pulling in all these different directions. Then you got the judiciary with like hundreds of judges sitting across the country that are all interpreting things just a little bit differently. And then you're talking about Congress and then all the little constituencies they have and all the corporate pressures pulling and prodding and, yanking on those. And you go, yes, these people have an agenda. I go, where are you going to get an agenda out of that, dude? Like maybe somebody somewhere has an idea that they'd like to pursue, but the reality of like assigning that some sort of magical quality where they can actually pull that string and make all that shit happen. I'm like, dude, like when I was in a similar position as you, like I couldn't even get people to just like follow basic rules, right? Like at just deep struggle, I couldn't get people just to do arbitrarily stupid, seemingly brain dead, straightforward things. They'd still screw it up. So I go somewhere there is this magically powerful human being that can coordinate all these different competing interests and all these different little like intangible threads. And somehow now the 10 of us have all gotten together and we manipulate this machinery. I go, that is just preposterous on its face. You go, like, you work in an agency that someone could very easily assign conspiracy theories to. If you got elevated to the statewide office of that, or if you were running the prison system in that state, people would have assigned all kinds of crazy conspiracy theories to that too. But if you actually see that administration in person and you just see what's happening on day to day, they're not like these machinistic, like, I shall deploy this and do this, and this little strategy will be, like, they're just barely hanging on to their job on any given day. And they're trying to do is navigate their way up the ladder so they can make more money and have more stability and more reach and more power or whatever. But at the end of the day, what they can actually influence on a day-to-day basis is effectively zero, because there's this swamp of shit they got to navigate. So when Simon Dixon comes along and goes, yes, the evil cabal, they're taking over Afghanistan because Afghanistan provides the key to do so they can collapse the banking system and this. I'm just like, get the fuck out of here, dude. Like, what are you talking about? Like, do you recognize, like, that is, to me, that is very clearly someone who's never participated at any level of administration in any capacity whatsoever. Because if they had, and they didn't just rely on conspiratorial thinking, they would look around and go, oh yeah, this is a big complicated mess. And we're just lucky the whole thing doesn't melt down on a day-to-day basis, because that's how constrained and conflicted and, you know, like I said, like, just try and get your people in your office to do something, dude. Like, how much time and effort does that take?
In my corner of bureaucracy, all that's true. And then I'll see situations where, you know, Thomas Massey was on, was it Tucker or something? I just saw a clip of Thomas Massey where Thomas Massey is like a threat to some powers that be somewhere saying things that they would not like people to hear. I say all these conspiracy words, they and stuff. And yet Trump is going after him. AIPAC is going after him, raising like a crazy amount of, I don't know, 10 or $20 million in his little corner of Kentucky to take him down. Why? There's incentives there. Like, somebody cares about something, and it's not just like, oh, they're just trying to stay organized. They're going after Thomas Massey, like, just sort of, now we're getting into politics, but I don't know. I don't want to over anthropomorphize like groups of politics. At the same time, it's like they sure work hard to do very specific things. And why?
Because there's a benefit to them, obviously, right? But
a benefit.
But that's what I'm getting at, is like they do it. I mean, but you go, well, what's the reason? And so if you just adopt one point of view, you go, the reason is because he's speaking out against things that they care about. And you go, well,
Israel.
Maybe, or maybe they just go, oh, this will be a good way for us to fundraise. We'll just hammer this guy. Zero chance we're going to displace him, because last time he got 92% of the vote, and nobody in Kentucky.
Close now. Apparently, with just here's how we anthropomorphize people: is you think, well, people are smart, they vote. Throw in some money, all of a sudden it's a contested race. That's all it takes is money.
Well, you know, but even that, you don't know. Like, you don't know if those poll numbers are correct. Like, how many times have you seen, oh my God, it's going to be a landslide, and oh, actually that person lost. Oops. And that's been going on for 100 years, right? So, like, all this stuff is narrative concocting, but the reasons behind why any of this could be happening, you go, nobody knows. Unless you're the person who's doing it, you just go, they might be doing it for this reason, they might be doing it for that reason. But if you immediately go, aha, it's because of Israel, I've got the answer now, it's like you're already off in the weeds, because you don't really, I mean, I get why people would think that. There seems like you could go, okay, well, it kind of makes a plausible argument for this, that, and the other thing, but you don't really know what their aims are underneath. Like, is it the furtherance of Israeli policy? Because it seems like that goes pretty smoothly anyway, so why bother spending any money on this guy at all? Maybe, just maybe, they have some other thing going on, but it gets a lot of attention for everybody involved. We're talking about it right now for a reason, because people are flinging money around in a particular race for reasons we don't know. But that could just as easily be like, we'll fling a bunch of money so we can get our donors to give us more money. because that's how we fundraise, is we keep our name out front and center. We fight the battles that, and I mean, if you were part of that circle and you believed in their rhetoric, then you would be all for it. You'd be like, yeah, get rid of that Mossy guy because he's a blah, 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 whatever narratives they're running. I don't know. But if you try and read your own interpretation of what you think maybe their actual motivations are, you go, well, what does AIPAC say they're doing it for? Have you even looked at that, or are you just relying on information from one side? Because if you go and look at their rhetoric, I'm sure they're not sitting around going, aha, we're going to take down Massey so we can support Israel even harder. It's like, I don't think that's probably the message that's going out. So if you don't even know the other side's argument for why they're doing something, let alone when you start interpreting based on stuff you don't really know to begin with, because of an angle that might be plausible, it's like, well, what are we talking about here? I mean, it's just noise at that point. You may as well just be, theorizing about how, the Venus is in line this month, and that's why they're attacking Massey, because, obviously there's tension in the cosmos, and, when Venus goes into, a lunar ascendancy, then that's why people get all fussy. It's like, you're basically in that same exact realm. You're in astrology at that point.
Yeah. I think it's natural for people when they see persistence or consistency in war and crime and things that nations do or whatever, and then you want to make sense of it. So it'd be like, stumbling upon a crime and being like, well, we can't really know. Like, people, even if you're not a detective, people naturally are like, what in the hell is going on? What happened here?
Yeah.
What's this? What's that? And like, you're trying to make sense of it because it's a crime. We're witnessing crime. But it's just multifaceted, and I don't know.
Almost always. I mean, but that's the thing, is the crime is relatively easy to narrow down. If you're talking about like an apparatus that spans hundreds of thousands of decision makers at hundreds of thousands of levels, pulling in hundreds of thousands of directions and going, well, there's 10 people at the top of this pyramid that direct all of that. It's like, no, they don't, dude. Like that is about as impossible as you can get. If they could direct it so efficiently, why would they bother with any of this conflict? They would just work it all out so everyone's a slave and no one has any freedom for anything. We're all just getting whipped all day. But that's not what happens, right? Like there is no, I mean, if they could impose a grand design, they would have done so by now. So I'm not saying there aren't people who come along with grand ideas and grand designs, but they tend to be people that cause a lot of suffering and problems. And a lot of other people will spend a lot of time trying to circumvent those people from coming into power, right? Like Joseph Stalin was one of those guys. But all of those people at the end of the day think they're doing the right thing. So it's, I don't know. I mean, so that, I'm kind of crapping on Simon Dixon's head a little bit here, but like when I hear his stuff, I just immediately start eye rolling and I just go, come on, dude. Like, are you fucking kidding me? But it's like this almost like childlike fascination with, like these grand conspiracies. I go, there's no plausible mechanism for these things to be working if you really just think about it for 10 minutes,
Yeah. I waver between.
I want to go back to the treehouse too, man. Like, I don't think
Mom, can you bring some more
Oreos and Kool-Aid, please?
Sunny D. Bring that Sunny D sugar water.
Yeah.
I waver between knowing that, it's more complicated than just hanging a hat on a certain, like, oh, that's that, and that's that, and that's that, and that's how it makes sense. And now I'm crazy. Versus, I know almost everyone sort of has like their incentives, or the people in politics have their axe to grind, or their agenda, or their direction, or their party, or they've got some incentive. And now you get enough of those people together, and it may be that gets complicated, but what's at its core? What's at the core of all this big group organizations incentive structure? How do you boil that down and distill that into something core and common? Yeah, there's the mission statement
for you very simply. I can actually boil that down for you.
Power and control.
Well, I would say follow the money.
Yeah.
You can look this up. This is publicly available information. See how much time Congress people spend on the phone cold calling donors. Like, it's literally 80% of their day. So you go, what's the incentive structure? What's the thing driving all this madness and da-da-da-da-da? It's get in office, stay there, and then get people to give you money. That's it. That's the entire gig. you get a lot of really cool perks if you can get into office, stay there, and get people to give you money. If you get those three things right, you can be a politician for 60 years.
And become multi-millionaire.
Yeah, easily. Very, very easily. I mean, it's an incredibly lucrative opportunity if you can wiggle in there and then play by the rules. People that don't tend to get flamed out pretty early, right? People that get in there and just do the job, they do great, man. You can have an entire career just sitting there sponging off money. So the thing is what gets you into office? If you're Thomas Massey, the thing that got you into office was to spout your little like constitutional, I'm a man of the people, blah, 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 blah. If you're, whatever, what's the guy from New York? Complete scumbag. Senator. Charles Schumer. So if you're Charles Schumer, he's got a very different gig. But when he first got to Congress, before he got to the Senate, his job was to get in there and just say whatever it takes to get into the office. And then once you get into the office, you start figuring out based on your staff going like, hey, when you say this thing, the press picks it up really quick. You should say that thing more often, because then your name's out there and then people know who you are, and then people can hate you and people can love you. And that's all you really need, because as long as you have enough people that love you, that they'll come out and vote for you and keep you in that office, then all you got to do is just keep bilking these people for money, make the party richer, play by the, but if you look behind the scenes, like all these people that are fighting like they're just at each other's throats in these public hearings and all this kind of stuff. They're literally going to lunch together 2 hours later. They're going to play golf together. Their families hang out on Christmas. They're just buddies because they're all part of that same system. Get elected, stay elected, and then collect money. So when you talk about incentives, I go, what's the power and control? I go, well, yeah, power and control over the party apparatus, because that makes you like a kingmaker or gives you a lot of influence. You can wield a lot of, you have a lot of access to, static security things and dynamic security things. But in terms of your ability to influence the world, it's limited to strong arming people in the back room about whether or not they're going to vote for something. But the rest of the time is get back on the phones, call the donors, do your job. That's it. So where's the conspiracy left in that? You go, well, if 80% of their time is spent on the phone and the rest of their time is spent on trying to make sure that they stay in office, then what's all their public rhetoric? What's all the fiery dialogue? What's all this? What's all that? You kind of go, who knows? I don't know. It looks to me like the incentive is just say shit that's going to get you attention so you stay in office. That's the big conspiracy to me. So I don't know, or you can complicate that and say, oh, these people are all secretly working together and they all know this there's the master document that's in the office of Nancy Pelosi, and she's got this all worked out for her next roadmap to world domination. Oh, come on. What are we talking about here?
Yeah, it's like a stage and a game, and then there are politics to fight over.
Oh, Resident Evil is the umbrella corporation.
What was it called? Oh, Resident Evil. That's right.
Yeah,
kind of a random name.
Great video game though, a lot of fun.
Yeah, that Mila Jovovich.
Oh, multipass. Oh my God, she was
that. Run Lola Run was the first German movie I saw her in, and it was like, who is this chick? That's where she.
Absolutely stunning.
Yeah, that's right. I know. It's easy to anthropomorphize everything. I mean, yeah. I see it with people and their pets, and I mean, a turtle, a snake, Fifi, and it's like that is an animal, and I see people who naturally anthropomorphize pets, and it's one of my pet peeves is kind of cringeworthy anthropomorphication of animals.
Yeah,
and it's like you're crazy. Like, I'm sorry, you're inventing a fantasy for yourself, and I'll just not think about it too hard.
Right.
We also anthropomorphize organizations of people or corporations, or we anthropomorphize. Mm-hmm. I think to make sense of our world, we anthropomorphize the gods, the clouds, everything. And I think when it comes to free will, getting a little deep here maybe, but we anthropomorphize ourselves and human beings. Mm-hmm. We sort of imagine that there's well, I don't know, our personality, our opinions, our free will, everything about it, we also nip and tuck and stitch together so it has a cohesive form. Even to myself, like I'll think about things that happened and then I'm making a story about how that all made sense. And meanwhile, I'm just riding on the froth of like crazy, whatever life it is.
Yeah.
But I've got to have it make sense because otherwise it's scary.
Well, it's
So,
unsettling, right? I mean, it's
yeah.
deeply unsettling to look around at the world and go, there's no one driving this bus, man. Like we're all just going in a direction and kind of mindlessly so. I mean, there's like that whole left-wing sort of idea that capitalism is its own entity. Like it's got its own logic, its own purpose, its own incentives, its own, replication and all this kind of stuff. James C. Scott called us an infestation, And I go, well, that's kind of an anti-human sort of dangerous place to start drifting into. But if you really think about like what humanity has done, if you consider the earth a living organism, you go, well, what else looks like a living organism overrun with parasites? Well, it's like a cancer, right? So you go, oh, humanity is a cancer. It's like, oh God, but then you're getting to very anti-human sort of ideologies, right?
You've
But all these,
anthropomorphized humanity into cancer. Yeah.
right? So I mean, the trouble is like I don't think humans are built for this level of complexity, right? Just like
Right.
if you put a dog in, like if you try and get a dog to figure out calculus, it's just not going to work, right? And so the dog is going to try and get to a place where the dog can handle the task, and that's it. And whatever shortcuts that dog's going to take to handle the calculus task, probably too many to list, right? But they can navigate it to a point where they're not in existential crisis all the time. Human beings don't have that because if you just, like I said, just the thing we've been talking about so far, there's enormous complexity here. There's enormous variation. There's enormous variance. And there's also external factors that we can never account for. Like, hey, that hurricane just blew through town. Oh, nobody saw that coming. Oops. Oh, we didn't expect all the trees to be uprooted. And, we didn't expect all the houses to blow away. We didn't expect the levees to fail. We didn't expect this. We didn't expect, like, there's all the things that people don't know how to react to. And then there's just a bunch of people kind of pushing in a general direction, right?
Yeah.
So how you keep all that straight in your head is tough, which is why I tend to, like, the more I learn, the more I understand how little I know. And the less I know, the less convinced I am that, XYZ thing is the reason, XYZ thing is the cause, XYZ reason is the, and I just kind of go, well, there's probably something else going on under there. I don't know. But what I can do is focus on my local conditions, right? And I can just sort of stop thinking about the rest of this stuff because it doesn't matter ultimately.
Mhm.
Like, are you taking care of your health? Great. Are you minimizing your contact with the fiat system? Are you getting away from your slavish, addiction to credit spending and buying new cars and, tinkering? Or are you kind of solidifying a lifestyle where it's like simple and maintainable and not too beholden on the fiat system? Like if your fiat revenue went away, how long can you keep going? And I go, that's a pretty good metric for like how insulated you are from the fiat system.
Yeah.
And most people to this day can't go more than a week. Like
No. Well, yeah. I was thinking a month to months, but yeah, most people are month by month.
yeah, if that, they're lucky.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are week by week. They go it was a recent study. They said it was like most households cannot withstand a $1,000 emergency fix without using debt, credit. Like they couldn't just go, oh, my car broke down. It's going to cost $1,000 to fix it. Here's $1,000 fixed, right? Like most people don't even have enough sufficient savings to deal with that. I go, that person is a slave to the fiat system. They can gripe about all the, mechanisms. They can gripe about the politics. They can think about all the conspiracies, but they are beholden to that system deeply because their life collapses without it. So the further you are away from that, the more free you will be from all of this stress that comes with trying to understand complexity that's just too big for our brains to process.
Yeah. And funny analogy here that Johnny, you remember that movie?
remember that
I was
movie,
a kid.
yeah.
I saw that in the theater.
Yeah.
And that one was a paradigm shifter for me when you talk about hunter gatherers or whatever. And some guy's flying along, tosses a Coke bottle out the plane. Guys walking through the desert, hunting snakes, whatever, finds a magical piece of cleared, transparent diamond.
Yeah.
And then it's like, what is this? Oh, it can do stuff. Oh, it hit me on the head.
Yeah.
And it becomes a whole thing.
Yeah.
And here we are with Bitcoin injected. Every flight I went on, we're talking to Vegas back and forth, to New Orleans back and forth. And some airlines push it harder than others. And then Spirit went, bankrupt last week?
Did they?
Spirit Airlines is gone.
Surprise, surprise,
Thinking
surprise.
of they wanted to merge with JetBlue, and then that was blocked, and then they up and failed, but who knows? So anyway, but every airline was selling their credit card. Frontier especially, it was like one salesman stewardess gal, I swear it was a 20-minute long sermon.
Yeah.
And I sat there and I'm like, oh my God, stop talking. Please stop talking. And now it didn't help that I was tired and kind of napping, but it was like, okay, she'll talk about this credit card for 5 minutes. And it felt like 20 minutes later, I'm sitting there like, is she going to get one more person to sign up for this credit card by letting me know I can go to Costa Rica or get some points? It's like, oh my goodness. So anyway, car dealers that technically sell cars, but really they're making loans. They're making loans. Everywhere I go, thinking about your book, it is, what more traction can we sponge up out of anywhere to get people in debt? Get people in debt. Is there any more debt out there? Any more? You want more credit? You want more credit? We'll give you more credit. And it was so in my face when I was thinking about it. It's not just like, oh, you got to be responsible and whatever. The incentive really is no, get in debt. You want to get in debt because you're going to get points. You'll get tokens, you'll get points, you get flight miles, you'll be in a club. And I'm like, all this window dressing around, like, get in debt, pleb. You got to get in debt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I think a lot of that's a symptom of fiat debasement, right? Like,
oh, Johnny, if you haven't flown lately, any airline you take, they will try to get you to sign up for a credit card. The first time I heard that, it's like, well, this is weird, but it's not too common. No, that's all they do anymore. Every ticket they sell on a plane, I think, is another potential credit card owner.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's the business.
Well, it's a huge business, right? But if you weren't getting debased continually as a company, I don't think you'd bother with that much. I mean, maybe you would still, I don't know. But like, if it's really hard to capture profit, because your company's being debased at 12% a year or whatever by the Fed, and you go, well, how do you keep up with, you can't grow your company 12% a year. It's never going to happen. So you need to find other revenue streams. You need to find places to cut. You need to find new ways to make money. One of the easiest ways to make money is to get people in debt at 23% interest, right? So hell yeah, push that as hard as you can, right? And you might sell more plane tickets that way and get more people on your planes and saving up points and spending more money on your plane. And, so it all, like, if we weren't being debased all the time, I don't think we'd be confronted with that kind of stuff. But I mean, I kind of liken it to the MicroSeed journey, right? Like, if it wasn't for the bear market, I wouldn't have gone into ways to try and make the MicroSeed better, but that it's the same reaction as you go, oh,
hard times made hard men.
Well, but like, if last year your company made $1 billion and then this year your company made $1.1 billion, but you can only buy, $700,000 worth of stuff or $700 million worth of stuff, you go, oh God, we might be doing okay on paper, but we're losing ground because our expenses keep going up. So how do you adjust to that? How do you fix that? Well, you either reduce the quality of your service, you compact flight schedules, you get more people to sign up with credit cards, you charge more for bags, you do this, you do that. Like, you do all these little things and add computer routing and add computer booking and this and that and the other thing. I mean, it's a bloody nightmare. But the only reason you have that bloody nightmare is because of regulation and debasement and, all the knock-on effects of being in a fiat system. So, so finance, exactly.
Money. Well, so then I was, having read Confessions of an Economic Hitman, I had that on my mind as well. And it was an analogy of the things that when John Perkins was working for the World Bank and going into all these countries, Indonesia, Ecuador, all over. And what the World Bank and corporations were doing in countries was to sell the government's on credit, and with the allure of infrastructure points or whatever, but like, we're here to help you out. And what they really, and they were literally, like John Perkins said, he was told this, is that they called themselves economic hitmen. They knew what they were doing. And it's like, yeah, we're going to promise all this infrastructure, and yeah, we'll build stuff. But the point is, when they can't pay off the loan, we own
Stuff.
votes, UN votes, infrastructure. Will then buy at a fraction of the cost. We'll buy stuff up. They'll be beholden to us. We have political leverage, and they knew that going in. And so I think about the parallel of humans flying on a flight or at a hotel or wherever you are. You look around, it's like, oh, I can get points. I can get points. I can be in a club. And it's sort of like a system that does that, but to people, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's the same logic, right? Like
When you fail, when you go bankrupt, it's all statistics at that point. But now we own, like, it's a feudal system, I guess.
well, you've already given them all the money by that time, right? Like you've already paid back principal and interest by miles. So you're already valuable. And the second you go bankrupt, like the next day you're going to get a credit card offer. I mean, it's madness, dude. But like
Yeah.
the thing is you kind of look around and you go, well, what do we get for this system? You're going to go, well, pluses and minuses, right? Like we have most of us have access to clean drinking water. That's kind of a big deal. Most of us are relatively safe. Like you can just walk down the street almost anywhere in the country.
I live in complete comfort.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Relative.
So you go, well, I mean, compare that, like your life, if you went and lived with the Hazda tomorrow, you're not going to like it. I guarantee it. Like you might.
Oh, my wrist hurts.
Yeah. Oh, I got a blister.
Keep pounding, son.
Yeah, like when they say, hey, the food we're going to eat today is honey. Oh, how do you get the honey? Well, you just walk over that hive and start pulling it out. Don't you get stung? Oh, yeah, you get stung like
You
crazy.
get stung a little bit.
You get stung a ton. Well, doesn't that bother you? No, we just kind of, it's fine. I've been getting stung by these bees since I was 3, so it's no big deal to me. Oh, how many times have you been stung by that bee? Never. Oh, you're probably going to need to go to the hospital after your first meal. Okay, because you're going to get overwhelmed. Your system's going to go, oh, that's way too many bee stings. We can't deal with this. Have some anaphylactic shock. And you're just laying there flopping around in the desert. That's for one meal. You go, okay, well, I guess I can't bribe these guys to get the honey for me. If they feel sorry for me, they might go get some honey for me. But meanwhile, they're just over there gorging while they're, swatting bees away and, pulling stingers out of their face, and they don't care. So I go, how effective do you think you'd be at digging a badger out of a hole with a stick? Probably not very good. How comfy would you be? Like, I saw a kid on an interview, he was a Hazda kid. He caught a mouse and he literally just like, and was like drinking the blood straight from the mouse he just picked up off the ground. I'm just like, I'm not doing that. Yucky. But that to him was just like, yeah, well, it's meat. Like, why would you?
Well, you think about how many.
That's my DoorDash right there. This thing just ran right up to me. I grabbed it and got some food.
Oh, a treat. Ooh, I got lucky.
Yeah.
Lucky I got a mouse. Yeah. Yeah. Thinking about, starvation, whatever. I mean, there's so many good eating grubs and worms in the dirt. Just dig them up. There's plenty to eat. But can you?
Can you? How well can you tolerate that? How long will you last?
Their mind. I think most people lose their minds. Stuff starts to get hard or weird, and it's not like people are going to starve. It's going to be Walking Dead of really just people that are really mentally unwell, like stressed out. Or
well, you could say that right now, I think.
Well, yeah.
I think that'd be a pretty safe diagnosis. You look around and go, most people are really unwell. And we just kind of keep going anyway,
And at the same time, let me flip the coin over, because another thing I noticed, everything we talked about being absolutely true. There were the nicest people when you talk about Southern manners.
Mm-hmm.
I could chalk it up to, it's like superficial. That's just me being cynical. But I'll tell you, if it's cultural and it's manners, it's good manners. And so the most random people, as soon as I landed, everybody, it was like, I'm so mean because people are like saying ma'am and sir and holding the door and the nuanced language, the genuine salesy feel, but also like if that was just kind of a norm, it'd be like, wow, I could be nicer. Uh, literally, I mean, and it's not just like, oh, well, the hotel door guy or the registration clerk, or it was everybody,
Yeah.
and it was infectious. I was like, I'm gonna be nicer too because it'd be like, good day, sir. How are you doing? Or we're
Yeah.
standing in line, and my habit is like, I'll just be quiet. I can think in my head. I don't like to be bugged. I'm not going to bug others. But culturally, it was like, how you doing? Where are you from?
Yeah.
Oh, you have fun, and all the small talk that I am horrible at. It's cultural,
Yeah.
and I liked it.
Oh yeah. 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 Well, I'll tell you, I mean, I grew up, with a Midwest family, right? And so my dad was deeply infused with Midwestern values of that kind of thing. And, but when I got to the prison system, that's where I brought that out full force. And I don't know if you noticed, but when I'm walking out of the world in general, like interacting with people, it's yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
I have noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's partly intentional, but it's also deeply rooted habit now, especially from the prison system, because I find it just lubricates a lot of life.
Oh
And
yeah.
what's funny is like on the West Coast, people are less receptive to it. They don't like it. They think
Yeah.
they treat it almost suspicious. Like, what are you,
I
like
know.
they're cynical.
I
But if you
am.
go to the
I
South,
am.
it's right there. It's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's
I
great.
know. Yeah. I endeavor to just be more accessible socially and nice. And what it comes with is a management of boundaries because I think it's safe to be like, I don't bug people, people don't bug me. So if anyone does, I'm operating from a safe place. But so with manners comes, what do you know, human interaction, and then the small talk, and then like getting to know somebody or them vice versa. And it's territory that I evade
Mhm.
cynically. But if I was better at it, I could handle all that and not disclose anything important.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of figure there's very little that's interesting enough about me that anyone would be interested in hearing a disclosure about. Like
Yeah.
I tend to be pretty open about stuff. Um, but I also have been kind of reining that in a little bit. But even when I was in the prison system, I'd be kind of like, like I would share personal anecdotes and things like that. Like I wouldn't date any of them, and I would leave family and all that kind of stuff out of it. But
Yeah.
like if there was something I'd struggled with in the past, I would say that. If but it's part of that human interaction sphere, which I think is becoming more and more important. Like the thing I was talking about before is like that local, what can you do locally? It's like, well, just be part of your community, like even on some trivial level, like connect with other people. And like the system we have now, like disfavors that because you're easier to capture, I think, when you're not talking to people and being social. But I mean, as much as you can in a modern society, kind of get out, which is why I love going to these conferences and things like that, because it forces you into a social situation. Like you don't necessarily have to engage with every human being in the room, and you don't have to be a weirdo about it, but you're not in the digital space anymore. You're in the meat space, and you're dealing with people in the meat space. And I think it's a critical component that we're gradually losing, and it's one of those things that I think we should keep decentralized and secure. The interaction layer.
Yeah. Yeah. When at the Bitcoin conference, that's what I love about it is I can be myself or open up or just talk about anything and it's relatable or we might disagree, but we can like relate. And I think with manners, it's like I get in a mindset where it's like all of these things that are like important to me just don't translate or honestly sound weird to risky or antisocial or something bad. And I get used to just like keeping it quiet and navigating a world, largely quasi superficially, and also having a career where, yeah, if you work in a jail and people are like, oh, and they know your schedule or they're friendly and there's some appropriate rapport and they're like, oh, you got some days off coming up. Yep. Oh, what are you doing? And just to answer any of that, like, oh, I'm going to go home and have breakfast with my kids because I just worked night shift. We got a soccer game at 10, and then the wife and I are going to, I mean, I can't say shit because
Right.
all of a sudden, any little thing they got, next thing I know, the next block over is talking about how Fritz has got a 4-year-old daughter,
Right.
and it's like shit.
Yeah.
So I career culturally built up a silo. And then with Bitcoin, you kind of have a certain silo when you interact with anybody. And then I have this whole habit that is almost like not conducive to reaching out to people or
Right.
having manners. So
Yeah.
it sounds silly,
Well,
but
like
it's
what you
sometimes
said, Johnny, I agree with you 100%. You know, like when I grew up here in New Mexico, and I got in a lot of fights and a lot of, and I see a lot of this sort of interaction. Like this is a pretty violent town, like writ large compared to other U.S. cities. But what I find is there's a lot of ego battles here, like more so than in other places. Like when I first moved to Los Angeles, I was shocked. I remember telling my friend from Alaska, I was like, dude, this is really weird. Like I haven't seen a fight in like 6 months. And my friend from Alaska was like, I know, man, it's so crazy. Like nobody here fights. Like I even tried to pick a fight in a bar, and this guy was just like, no, sorry, man. He's like, what the hell's going on? Like it was really weird for both of us. I mean, we were young men at the time, right? But as I'm looking around, especially with the young people around here, I see that there's a lot of like sort of puffing and and they're just finicky. I've seen people like screaming at each other already, and I haven't seen a fist fight yet. But I mean, I've seen real close all over the place, which is weird for me because I don't kind of like that sort of thing. But I also find that with my gentlemanly prison tempered like politeness and smiling and just being kind to people, like those same personalities, they're really genuinely nice people at the end of
sure.
it.
And they're
They're just
reading that too. The prison is
yeah,
such a social world. We're just quick surveying people and getting a read on people and making quick, superficial decisions. There's such a social lubricant to all of that that really matters.
yeah.
And if
Oh
you
yeah,
go
yeah.
in as a guard wanting to be like stiff and careful, they've
Yeah.
already labeled you.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get smoked, dude. But if you
Yeah.
just walk in and you're polite, like, but they say that to people when they're coming in, like if they're gonna live there, right? They go, don't come in here and try and be some Billy badass, beefed up dude. Be like being polite. Well, every inmate I ever talked to is always like, well, just normal politeness and just
Yeah.
saying please and thank you and expressing gratitude and smiling and I can lubricate a lot of stuff, right? Because they're all on the lookout for attitude and
Yeah.
flexing and things like that. So if you get away from that, and you're not a pushover, right? So you've got a little balance you got to walk there, right? Because like you can be polite to the point where you're a doormat, but you can also be polite with firm boundaries, and that's a little
Right.
trickier thing to navigate. But prison is like an amazing, incredible training ground for that kind of thing. Like I need to maintain boundaries here because it's not only important to me professionally, but it might be something that'll save my life.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to navigate some really tricky social dynamics with really perverse incentives working against you, and be polite and professional about it. So if you can strike that balance, like your life as a guard gets a lot easier than if you're, on one extreme or the other. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Yeah.
but it's free. It's completely free just to go.
Yeah.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh, no
Just,
worries. Go right ahead. Sorry. Oh yeah, no big deal. Like all that stuff just makes life 10,000 times easier.
yeah. Escaping fiat. I have to conjure the reminder to be nicer. And honestly, I mean, you're right, Johnny. Good point in terms of just being that kind of a person. At the end of the day, we're all still human. As much as I have up in my head and all the things and the whatever it is about it, or what I want, what I think of as what is really base reality, what is really true. And I got to step back and be like, I'm only human, and
Right.
so are others. And so
Yeah.
it just being so, or even if I feel like an alien, at least acting so, and so
Yeah.
staying grounded.
I don't know.
But anyway, I'm still in transition, getting back home from all that, and just
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway, crazy.
I'm just back here chilling in MicroSeed land. I realized I think you're right. I think Robin does have a purple light. I think I'm like ripping off Robin's
Kind of
background.
bluish, purplish,
Yeah, I
or
gotta pick a
pinkish.
different color. What color do you think I should put back there, Johnny? I got like peach, yellow, green, blue. I don't know.
I like red.
Red, yeah, red. I don't know. Red always feels
Kind
a
of got
little.
that Oh yeah.
I guess I could do the 3D glasses view. I could do red and blue back there. That
Or
might be
bright,
fun.
bright orange through and
I
through.
wish I don't have an orange. Orange,
Yeah,
I
see,
agree, but
Johnny
there's
said
no,
orange.
I have to make a mix to get orange. Like I
Uh,
have to mix these gels somehow to get an orange. What
yellow
makes orange?
and
Like yellow and red,
right? Makes orange.
Yeah, yellow and red. Yeah, I'll go do that. Let's do orange. What the hell? Right. On that note, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, my mind is still swirling on everything. I feel like I haven't had a chance to settle down since I left for Vegas, and that was walking away from work with directions, and then getting calls and emails while I was gone, and then looking at Monday, going, when do I get to think about things? So
Yeah.
anyway, oh yeah, I could mention things about developments with MicroSeed on the website.
Oh yeah. Well, I would point out we have a new version of the MicroSeed out right now. It's not even really. It's the based plate kit. If you ever wanted to back up your seed phrase in a very simple, easy to way to do it, it's super cheap. $89. You get 3 titanium plates, a punch kit, a hammer, all kinds of neat stuff.
Microseed.io shop. Look at that. There's a base plate
right there. This thing's actually pretty cool. You know, like it's a little 3D printed thing that just helps you line up the text. But yeah, you can fit all 24 words on a single side. There's an example of it right there.
Oh, I could just have it on a little credit card size metal deal. This thing lines it up for you.
Yeah. It's kind of a pain in the ass. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I prefer the MicroSeed over this any day of the week. But I also recognize, like, you know, not everybody wants to spend that kind of money on something they might use once or twice. So I go, here you go. And you can get those replacement plates. Those are grade 5 titanium. You can get replacements right there, the size of a credit card, $36 for 3. It's $12 each. Like, it's really hard to beat, you know, and you get all that crazy security that comes with grade 5 titanium. So that's just one little thing, but we've also got the new device coming, which I'm just going to briefly preview there. And yeah, there's a lot of really neat stuff coming with MicroSeed, so I'm super excited.
Oh yeah, did you show the new device? Oh, there it is. Oh, just a glimpse.
Just a glimpse. Well, the thing is, the new device is actually square, not round. So
oh yeah, right.
But this is the new MicroSeed, and it's coming soon. So Advanced is going to get replaced with a couple of neat new options. The MicroSeed Pro is going to get replaced with a new option, and we're going to make self-custody great again.
Make self-custody great again. There's the vault. You can have your vault.
Yeah. That thing was a right pain to design. We're going to make a new vault, though, so it's going to be a titanium vault. We're doing all kinds of neat stuff, but probably right after Prague, all this stuff will be live on the website, and we'll be talking about it a lot more.
Lots of cool stuff happening. So yeah, exciting having a multifaceted approach to, like, oh, but I want bigger letters. Oh, but can't I still stamp it on a plate? Well, yes, you can.
Oh, yeah. Yes. In fact, if you're really clever about it, you could just go buy those titanium plates and you can go get a little engraver. You can buy your own punches. You can do almost anything you want. It's just we're selling really cheap titanium plates with a hammer and punch kit is all we're really doing. So yeah, I mean, we just want to make it as simple and easy for anybody to securely store their seed phrase. You know,
yep.
That's the goal of my
flavor.
Yeah,
pick your style of approach. You can have it super tiny on one little deal, or you can have them larger on a little bit more. You can do what you will, but it's one-stop shop, and you don't have to spend twice as much for the same thing somewhere else, maybe.
Prague's going to be great. We're going to Vienna and Prague. So yeah, I get every time I say Vienna out loud or Prague, I'm like, I immediately think of myself as James Bond. Because that's kind of places where he'd chill a lot, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Monaco, got to get to Monaco one of these days. South of France.
James Bond was effectively what John Perkins, as an economic hitman, there were James Bond people that he worked adjacent to who they called jackals. So when the economic hitman approach and the meetings with the local tribesmen didn't go anywhere, or some guy it looked like was going to get elected, enter the jackal. And then there was a car wreck and that politician was dead. Or, yeah. So we're like, well, we're not jackals, but yes, we are international men of mystery.
Indeed. All right. On that note, don't forget to run the ad. Thank you, Johnny. Yes. It's always great to see you, sir.
Fun times. And here's your MicroSeed. Bye, everybody.
MicroSeed is the best way to take self-custody. One single MicroSeed kit allows you to stamp as many seed phrases as you want. MicroSeed comes with stainless steel washers, a titanium washer, and even a nylon washer. And you can fit all 12 or 24 words on one single washer. With promo code FRITZ, you'll get 5% off your order. Get the kit and crank out all the keys you'll ever need forever.